So when you talk about acceptable technical risk when evaluating new software, what do you think of, especially in the enterprise?
Acceptable technical risk.
Because absolute security is impossible, and I think everybody here knows that, right? So, what is acceptable technical risk?
Nothing is acceptable.
Well, we are, I mean, acceptable technical risk. So what you have to do is you have to differentiate between real risk and perceived risk, and you have to actually understand with the layers of security that we've got, how deeply can we secure something, right? So we're definitely not going to want to be any less secure than any other bank that our regulators are regulating.
Great answer.
That's for sure. That's for sure. And if we can demonstrate that we are incrementally more secure and thinking more specifically around how to secure, that's even better. So does that help you?
Absolutely. And when you think about evaluating technology for your marketplace and for your business, what do you think of? Either one of you.
Well, I'll take it right even maybe another way of thinking about the problem. So a lot of things with security come down to probability. And there are certain types of security risks. For example, in a lot of our customers, they know that if they allow a user to use their business data on a device where I can also have my, no disrespect, my personal Dropbox account, a lot of these guys will look at it and say, look, I know. It's not a question of maybe I'll lose the device and the hacker might break the encryption. I know I'm going to have the data end up in Dropbox. And then instantly I have an e-discovery problem because I'm a HIPAA-regulated healthcare company. So sometimes it's what we think of as security. Security and compliance actually are two sides of the same coin. It's not just about whether I can crack AES or something like that. It's about, has this data, can I reasonably predict that this data will end up somewhere where I no longer have control of it, I can't do my e-discovery, I can't tell people that their personally sensitive information isn't in this spot. And you can predict some of these things. If I let you use email on your mobile device with absolutely no controls whatsoever, will your address book and your calendar end up in iCloud? For a lot of users, yeah, I can probably almost guarantee that. So I think that's sort of one of the things that's sort of misunderstood about security, is that it's really not about just whether I can break something or hack something. The user is actually typically the biggest problem our customers have. Yeah. And so they're not worried about the nameless, well they are, obviously, worried about nameless faceless hackers as well. But they also know there are certain things that users will just do, period, and so they have to be cognizant. So it's always a mix of not just pure security at the AES encryption level, but just also people and process.
If you have a question, I'd like to actually ask you guys to come on up, so for the sake of the rest of the audience, because they may not be able to hear you. So come on up here if you can. But on that note, while we're waiting for some of questions, I want to also address one quick thing is, do you guys think, my understanding is most of the enterprise are actually using more iOS than Android. Is that true? Is it what you guys are looking at?
Well, our data, we publish every quarter, actually. We actually publish what people have activated, and we typically see about 75% iOS and about 25% Android. I think people always then ask, well, why is that? I think one thing, we have a lot of tablet users, and they just love iPads. It's that simple. I mean, about 95% of what we see on the tablet side typically is iPads. So that's sort of skew things. The smartphone side is a little bit more balanced, but we certainly still see more iOS than Android.
Very good to know.
Yeah, so I would agree with that. We're definitely, we lean more heavily to iOS, but I think that's actually, I think the whole Samsung recent phones is actually, that's starting to catch on. So I would imagine that it's going to start swinging a little bit further towards the Android side, at least for our bank.
Hi, my name is Alexei with Agile Fusion, mobile software development company, professional services. My question is more to Milo. One thing I heard today was that the users within enterprises, they can no longer tolerate the kind of crappy experience. They want to consumer-like experience and good experiences. And recently we see a lot of big consumer-facing companies exiting HTML5. So would you mind elaborating a little bit more about why you guys chose hybrid HTML5 apps for your consumer-facing apps, and how did you tailor security and data protection, storage that's not encrypted with HTML5 and things like that?
So I'm not a mobile developer, so I'm probably going to just preface it with that. I can tell you that we're a small shop, relatively speaking. We took a decision about 2 years ago. We looked at the whole kind of meat ecosystem at that time, and to look at the possibility from a native development standpoint. We viewed it to be a very fragmented industry at that time, and we viewed the kind of emerging at that time 2 years ago. HTML5 was kind of an emerging standard, had a lot of traction. So what we viewed it was really almost like a hedge, if you will. So in other words, it's going to be a lower cost to entry to develop for HTML5, and if it turns out that it's wrong or bad, or we aren't enjoying it, by that point we would also see a maturity of the meat platforms, and that the development environments would be shaken out, so that we would be able to deliver an early set of releases. That said, the traction on our client-facing applications has been tremendous. We've gotten great reviews. I think I'm not the product manager, so I can't take any credit for that, but what they're telling me is it's all 4s and 5s in the App Store, so I didn't check yet, so but the people are very happy. So I haven't heard any negative feedback from our clients or from our product managers on the hybrid app that we're delivering through PhoneGap. I think maybe the fact that we are wrapping it with PhoneGap, which is going to give you a little bit better of a native experience, is part of the reason it's been successful so far. So I'll take that feedback back to the team, and we'll keep an eye on it.
So quick question on that. What the volume are we talking about? A handful of them or hundreds of apps that you?
Oh, no. So we only have 2 apps, one Android and one iOS. I mean, it's available both. Obviously, it's available both on the tablets as well as the phones, right? So and in all of the different devices. But it's just that's for our client facing, just our basic mobile banking, typical mobile banking that you have for your Wells account or whatever.
Got it.
Thanks. My name is Jan Sauer. I'm with a company called TimeGrad. What we're building is a real-time task list for the enterprise that actually allows SLA compliance and allows teams basically to deliver projects on
Pitching
time.
right now?
Well, part of, right?
Right.
But my question is basically regarding distribution, because I find it interesting from a B2C point of view. Any best practices in terms of distribution and adoption you've seen with regards to the enterprise?
Well, I'm trying to, if you clarify, when you said B2C, but then you said distribution to the enterprise.
I guess the point I was trying to make is we're finding that we can, we hypothesize that we can utilize a lot of the B2C parameters to drive adoption, but I'd be curious to know your experience.
I think that's correct. You have to understand what is at the heart of your product to know whether it's going to spread naturally through an organization. Same way as many products are designed with how they're going to spread virally in just a consumer market in mind at the very start of the product being built. So Dropbox is a great example of that, right? One where people naturally want more capacity, but are also in a position where they want to share links to files and so on, and the company gets a lot of mind share as a result. Inside an enterprise, you have to be aware of the same dynamics that go on. Does your application just make sense for one business unit, and even within the business unit, does it spread from one sales guy to the next naturally? Are there ways that can happen, or that you can encourage that type of mechanism to happen? Evernote, interestingly, always took a little bit of a different approach. They said, well, we're not going to focus on that. We are actually an anti-social application because your notes should be private and they should be yours. And sharing took a long time before the company, Evernote, was comfortable rolling out features where they were, the sharing features, which made it more viral. And that was a conscious choice because of the customer value proposition they wanted to focus on first. But you can certainly take learnings from consumer and apply them in the enterprise setting.
How about feedback to the idea?
I didn't catch the full idea, actually.
Okay, so what we're building is a real-time task list, mainly focused on virtually distributed teams, so they can work together, obviously in real time, make sure the projects are delivered on time. And our beachhead are IT managed service organizations that, we basically provide clarity into the task and how long it should take, so they can manage and comply with the SLAs.
fundable?
Oh, I think that it's definitely a need, and particularly on mobile, I think there are additional features and pain points which are unaddressed by people who've done project management software or other task managers on desktop. So there's definitely a gap there. All comes down to how good the actual product is, but the space that you described certainly can create a lot of market opportunity for yourselves.
Yeah, I think that sounds pretty interesting as well. I think to me, what is the integration with the Microsoft project or do the other major corporate platforms for project management? We use Microsoft Project. We also use a product called PlanView, which is a SaaS application for resource management, for example. So there are challenges with the project management part of the PlanView. That's also a planning and forecasting tool, but there's also kind of a time entry, just a time reporting aspect. That part's fine. It's the project management pieces. So we're looking now to really kind of figure out how can we take like a Microsoft project plan and like upload it into a PlanView and then get the benefits of that more turnkey resource management tool. But all of that is very kind of PC centric, app centric. It's not nearly as nimble concept of what you're describing. The problem is that that nimble ad hoc kind of agile type of thing needs to be combined with the structured project management that's kind of like required really from the point of view of kind of managing large organizations, right? So a guy like me, I want to get my Gantt chart and make sure that I can I don't want to just sort of here, don't worry, we got it all on the quick and dirty app and we're all working on it. Milo, don't worry. I want to see the Gantt chart. I want to check. So if it integrates, sounds great.
Yeah, I can see it. The only thing I would say is I'm just thinking of some scenarios within our own company where an interesting twist on the idea is how do you extend that out to audiences who normally wouldn't have access to some of those IT tools. So I'm thinking of some use case in our company right now where we're trying to figure out how do we best get the salesperson and the product manager and the support person and other people in our operations environment all with access to maybe not everything, maybe not the deep bowels of Rally or something like that, but at the end of the day, so the sales guy who's actually communicating with the customer in real time that day knows exactly what's going on with these things. So there could be some interesting twists there where it's not just about trying to replace the existing IT system, it's about how do you actually enable those systems to be consumed by audiences who normally are cut out of the process? Because you don't normally give your sales guy access to the same tool that your support guy does. So that's just something I know we're trying to solve in our own company, because we have pockets of these systems, and there's nothing really good. And we intuitively, being a mobile company, there's got to be an app for that. I mean, there's got to be something, because we all have these devices. There's got to be a way we can solve this workflow problem. So,
Thanks for feedback. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chris Smith-Hill. I'm a founder of a small social startup. I'm kicking around the idea of getting into the enterprise space. You guys mentioned Dropbox and Evernote as success stories. They both kind of have a consumer element to them. I wonder if you could give any examples of straight enterprise success stories, and did they use things like good technologies or their enterprise apps in their strategies?
Well, Mobile Iron is a good example there. Teams set out very early on when they noticed the smartphone trend to go and tackle some of the problems that we've been talking about here around device policies, management, and security. And they found a great market. They sell through a lot of different partners, and are